all of these orphans come together to create a family. I would get his scenes and I'd be like, I want to play Ronnie. I'm gonna say there's lots of slow burns. Like the viewer is Brookfield. You were like, who's this mystery woman? I gotta tell you, our Red Surge is pretty great.
Hi, everyone. I would like to welcome to the podcast today, Cindy Busby. Hi, Cindy.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Cindy plays Nora Anderson in season 2 of When Hope Calls, which comes out. We all get to watch it this week. So thanks so much for being here, Cindy.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can watch it this Thursday, April 3rd on Great American Pureflix, and then April 6th on Great American Family, and in Canada on Super Channel Heart and Home, which is very exciting for my fellow Canadians to be able to see it at the same time.
And I just learned, so I watch on Friendly TV,
Oh, yes.
and I'm going to actually get Pureflix as well so I can watch it on Thursday. But I just learned today that people who have Hulu can actually watch Great American Family.
Oh, great.
That's
Yeah.
what I hear.
And
So,
I know that there's Direct TV. I believe my in-laws have it on Comcast, and Spectrum. So depending on your service provider, there's a lot of various ways to be able to watch. And I know in Canada, I believe you can also get it on Prime too.
okay. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, just
Lots of ways.
lots of ways, and you still have time to figure it out.
That's right. That's right. So tell us about finding out about the project and what intrigued you and got you excited about being part of When Hope Calls season 2.
Well, I was really excited because, I'd been wanting to be a part of a series for a really long time. There's just something really special about creating longevity with a character and, storylines, giving it a place to go. Typically I'm a part of these amazing movies that are about, 90 minutes. And so you get to go on an arc, but it's a really quick one. And people kind of know what to expect. But with this series, it's a little bit more suspenseful and you never know quite what'll happen. And even for myself as an actor, I'm always excited to get the scripts and be like, oh, what is she gonna do now? Like, what's everyone up to? So that was really exciting for me. And of course, the fact that it's a period piece, it
Mm-hmm.
takes place in 1920. That was really exciting for me. I've done a couple period pieces in the past, but never in this particular time period and not in a series like setting. So that was all, really great. And yeah, so I initially got the audition, and actually I looked back, and the initial audition I'd had was to audition for the part of Hannah, which is now played by Sarah Fisher.
Yes.
At the time, my life was a little bit busy and I just couldn't get around to doing that audition, so I kind of passed on it. And then it came back around again a couple weeks later, but this time for the part of Nora. And my team was like, this is a really great opportunity, et cetera. And I was like, oh, absolutely. This is when I was shooting my return part on Heartland. So I was like, okay, as soon as I'm done Heartland, I'll get
Mm-hmm.
home and I'll put this on tape. So that's what I did. And then I found out, I think maybe like a week later, that I got it. So that was, beyond exciting. And then that's when I found out that Chris Russell was gonna be on the show. And then I, of course, like just about fell down because I was like, okay, as if this can't get any
Oh,
better.
yeah.
Now I might work with one of my like really good friends and someone I've worked with 4 times before this. So it's all just been a wonderful experience. And yeah, I just feel like, things just really aligned for this to
Yeah.
work out, and I'm really grateful that it did.
Well, we're really excited too.
Yeah.
So, for those of us who watched season 1,
Yes.
where does season 2 pick up?
So season 2 picks up actually about 5 years after season 1.
Okay.
So kind of like the same timeline. So, the characters are in different places and in their lives. And it kind of picks up. I mean, Nora is new to town, so she's arriving. She's kind of the mystery woman at first because people don't really know who. And, in a town like Brookfield, everybody knows everybody's business and there's a lot of gossip and chitter chatter. And so, immediately people are like, who's this mystery woman? And but Nora comes to town because she finds out that she has family in Brookfield that she didn't know she had, and she, left San Francisco, left her law firm. She's a lawyer and is kind of looking for connection because her
Mm,
family has since passed, and
mm,
her family was a broken up family, so she doesn't really have a lot of she has a lot of missing pieces in her
mm.
life, so she's
Okay.
kind of looking for that clarity and that family. And Brookfield is one of those places where seemingly it attracts all of these like incredible people that find themselves there, and that all like creates magic together. So yeah, you kind of catch up on the with the characters, and we were lucky enough to have Morgan Cohan, who plays Lillian, who was in season one. She's in the season, and yeah, it'll be really nice to, wrap up some storylines that were in the previous season, as well as have a lot of returning storylines and so many returning characters as well, which is great, which I think the audience will be, thoroughly excited about.
So then, knowing that you are coming in for season two, what was that like having some of those returning cast members who knew, about season one? Was that helpful? How did that all play out for you?
I mean, it certainly was helpful. And, I think everyone, because season one was so long ago,
Yeah.
they were all just so excited to be
Oh, yeah.
back and to, take on their characters once again and be in this on the set and in this storyline. And so everyone was so incredibly welcoming. And in a way, like a lot of people had returning characters and knew the world, but it was like we were starting over all together again.
Yeah.
So there wasn't, obviously some people already knew each other and that kind of thing. And I was myself and Chris Russell and Nick Bateman and Sarah Fisher, we were kind of like the new kids in town, but it never felt that way. It always felt extremely welcoming and truly like a family from the get-go. And Wendy Crewson, is back, and
Yeah.
Hanneke Talbot and Neil Crone, and there's just so many of the favorite characters. But yeah, it honestly just blended really, really well, which is, always what you hope for and you never know. But in my experience, typically it goes in a pretty great fashion.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fans who follow this channel that watch When Calls the Heart,
Yes.
and they know that Hope Valley is a character in and of itself. So I
Yeah.
imagine that Brookfield is the same way. What can you tell us about Brookfield?
Yeah, Brookfield is a character in and of itself. It's really like the landscape for all of the things that happen to the characters. It's the baseline, of it all. And in a lot of ways, it's the heart of the story. It's where all of these beautiful people come um, and find so much. There's like a hope that lives there, and there's a growth and a strength that embodies the people in the town or anyone that comes into the town. I feel like it brings out the best in everyone, and it challenges them, and it really makes, as an audience member, I feel like it really makes you want to be a part of it, and kind of wish that you were a part of it.
Uh-huh.
It's one of those worlds that you can't help but be captivated by, and be whisked away into. And it kind of, there's a fourth wall, but you feel like that wall, like the viewer is Brookfield
Yeah.
to a certain extent,
Got it.
so yeah, it's a pretty magical place. I did an interview recently, and the interviewer mentioned, he's like, it's an interesting thing how Brookfield brings in all of these like seemingly orphans, like people who are looking for something, looking for community, and they come
Mhm.
to Brookfield, or are in Brookfield, and they find what they needed right there.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
thought that that was a really interesting way to go about it, to say like all of these orphans come together to create a family, and
Wow.
Brookfield is the family.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I completely agree with that. Also, I'm stealing that. Thank you.
Well, you delivered it really good, so that was great. So what was it like the first time that you stepped onto the set of Brookfield?
Oh, it was pretty great. I mean, you as an actor, you do all of your work ahead of time. You get to understand your character and where they come from, and you fill in the blanks of what has been written for you and what hasn't. And you do your research on a woman in 1920 and what that would have been like, et cetera. And then, you get your hair and makeup done and you get your costume on and then you walk on set and I just felt so like it's so much easier to inhabit a character like that because everything is working in your favor. You got the
Mhm.
costume, the hair, and the makeup. Everybody else is in costume and looking so different than, right now in 2025. So it's so easy to be immersed in the world. You've got the background artists that are also dressed up and their hair is all done and the set is a standing set. So if you have some time off and you walk into the general store is always looking like the general store, and you can't help but really be whisked away, and you kind of forget all the work that you've done, and you're just like you can be just present there. And I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and appreciation for this wonderful opportunity that's come into my life, and also, gratitude to get to play a woman who's so strong and smart and ahead of her time, again, to be a lawyer in 1920. Like there was a very, very small percentage of women that were at that time, so
Mhm.
that's a really big deal. And to embody the little intricacies of, if you bump into a man, like what was that like? Like what was it like interacting in that world? And although it's still TV and it's never going to be like 100% accurate, just bringing those nuances to life was really cool. And it kept building as the season went on.
So Nora shows up in Brookfield trying to find like a new place. Can you
Mhm.
tease like any challenges that arose for Nora when she arrived in Brookfield?
Yeah, well, like I said, she's looking for some family that she found out she has in Brookfield,
Okay.
and there's a very strong vulnerability for her. She's kind of a fish out of water, so she doesn't know how anything is going to go. She doesn't know how she's going to be received. She's nervous about it. What if she's pushed away? What if she's not welcomed by the family that
Mm.
she's seeking?
Yeah.
And that's a really scary thing, to put yourself out there like that. Which shows again like just how strong she is to go from San Francisco to all the way to northern Canada, um, to try to find this family. So yeah, she's putting herself out there, and along the way, throughout the story, she meets this Mountie who at first catches her eye, and she's like, who's this guy? And she kind of becomes a lot more I mean, they equally both do. They become flustered with one another because there's something about each other that equally challenges them, and also um they're excited about and can't they're it's almost like a magnetic energy, but also one that is not easy. And then, because again she's a lawyer, she ends up helping a lot of people in Brookfield. She really like cares, and she recognizes that she can do a lot of good in that town, and so she finds a lot of purpose in the city beyond, all the other things that come about.
So, other than, we'll talk a little bit more about the Mountie, but other than that relationship, is there another relationship that we will see Nora, begin to kind of like interact with a person in particular right up front?
Yeah, she definitely has in the second season, she has a special relationship with Maggie, who's the nurse. So they do have, Maggie who's played by Hanneke Talbot, who's so lovely, and I just adore her, and getting to work with her was always like such a gift. But she just embodies that kind of like mother nature aspect, and so her character really is welcoming, and they develop a really lovely relationship together. And then of course when Sarah Fisher's character Hannah comes to town as well, she's also a fish out of water, who isn't necessarily being greeted in the best way possible. So Nora, shows her that she'll be there for her and welcomes her, so she knows that she has a friend in town. Because when you know what it's like to not necessarily be welcomed, you usually want to, be there for other people. So there's a lot of helping each other out, being there for one another, and of course Nora has a very good relationship with the kids as
Yeah.
well, which is really special. And I personally, Cindy, loved working with the kids. They were so awesome. Um, yeah, they were just a blast. And I feel like it was, they keep you on your toes, which is great.
Uh-huh.
You never know what you're gonna get. And I remember when I was shooting with them, sometimes they would do my close up, and the kids would be behind the camera, giving their lines, and they'd just be like, like doing all kinds of like weird things, or like not paying attention, or like whatever.
Yeah.
And that would always certainly challenge me to keep a straight face and not, lose my moment. But yeah, it's fun. It's important to have a good time while you're having fun while you're working, and kids certainly bring that out of you.
Oh, yeah, they will. So you mentioned that you got to work that Christopher Russell plays Michael Fletcher, the Mountie. How is this different? You've done 4 movies with him. So
Yeah.
how is it different doing a period series? You're showing up in Brookfield and it's like we're going to be working for with 6 episodes here. So what was that like?
It was cool. You never know what you're going to get with any project, and even though you've worked with someone, you hope and you know that you have chemistry, you just hope that the chemistry can be transferred into this world.
Yeah.
And I think the truth is when you have chemistry you just do, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. But Chris brought this up originally, which was like, you kind of have banter with characters, but to be able to transfer that banter into a setting that is 1920 is a little bit different. There's a different cadence, there's different words, there's a lot less that's spoken and more like kept contained inside of you. And so, things are a little bit more of a slow burn. So we managed to be able to find our rhythm and our banter together within the circumstance of it being a period piece. And finding those, those nervous moments, and
Hmm.
those frazzled moments when we run into each other, while also wanting to keep ourselves composed and not, keeping your cards close to your chest. So, but I think it was helpful that Chris and I knew each other so well beforehand, because we're kind of each other's like life raft in certain ways. If all else fails, we know we can count on each other. We understand each other very well personally and as artists as well. So that was really nice. It certainly takes some weight off of your shoulders, especially being on a series and being the leads of the show. Ooh, I just lost my life. But yeah, so that was good.
So, what is the initial when they meet Nora and Michael? Do they hit it off? Is there a little bit of, like, who are you? Like, what's the general vibe for Nora and Michael when they first meet?
The general vibe is definitely curiosity of, because Mountie Michael is also new in town. So he's also kind of a fish out of water, but he means business and he's all business. But for some reason, when he sees Nora, the business kind of goes out the window. And now he's like, she's the only one that kind of sets him off of losing his composure.
Uh-huh.
So that's the and same for Nora as well. She's kind of keeps being, she keeps dropping things and running into him and that kind of thing. But then also beyond the curiosity, they also have a lot of friction between them because he's a man of the law and I got to catch the bad guys. But then Nora's someone who will protect, a bad guy until they're proven guilty, sort of thing. So she believes in the law in a very different capacity. And so they kind of butt heads as to um, how the law works. And so that's a fun duality where they're coming from the same place, but also from different places. And
Got it.
like their perspective is the right perspective.
Oh, yeah. Of course, right? Of course. So I imagine there's going to be laughter and love and drama. So who's going to bring the laughs this season in When Hope Calls?
Oh, that's definitely Neil Crone, who plays Ronnie, the hotel owner.
Yeah.
He was in the original, the season one, and he is absolutely hilarious. First of all, he's a Canadian improv genius. Like he's
Yeah.
been doing it for years and years and years. Grew up in the industry with some of Canada's finest, funniest
Mhm.
people. You know, I think he was telling us a story about how when he auditioned for Whose Line Is It Anyway, like back in the day. And yeah, he's just so lovely. And he's one of those characters where, he has a script, but he'll also like add his little like
Mhm.
improv moments and he kind of keeps you on your toes. And I mean, I love improv so much. So I really appreciate that about him. And anytime, I only have certain because it's such a big cast
Yeah.
that unfortunately there's some characters my world doesn't really like enter their world, which is cool. And potentially down the road in other seasons will touch base. But so Ronnie and I had a couple interactions, but not a ton. But as soon as I would get the script and I would read the scenes, I would get his scenes and I'd be like, I want to play Ronnie. But I would never do it justice like Neil. But yeah, he's definitely the one who's gonna bring it, as far as laughter goes. But every character has a little bit here and
A little
there.
chuckle here and there. Well, and I'm going to go back in the next couple of days and just binge season 1. I've heard we can watch season 2 and we don't have to watch season
Yeah,
1.
that's right.
But I am
Yeah.
going to go back and watch
Yeah.
season 1. But I remember, there's certain things it's like, oh, I don't remember, but there's certain things I do. And I remember how funny he was in
Oh,
season
yeah.
1.
Oh,
Just
absolutely.
hysterical.
Well, you won't be disappointed.
Hey. All right. So that's who's going to bring the laughs. Who's
Yeah.
going to bring the romance?
Ooh. Oh, I feel well, there's more. So there's several slow burns,
Okay.
obviously. Um,
So several, huh? You don't have to say who. You
yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah.
tease
I,
what you
I'm
can't
gonna
tease.
say I'm gonna say there's lots of slow burns.
Okay.
However, I will say there is one main romantic storyline this season, and it's really, really good. And I'm really excited about it. And there's only one kiss this.
Okay. We'll be looking for it.
It'll be worth it.
So I imagine since it's when hope calls that there is some hope. So who's going to bring the hope and the heart?
Oh, wow. There's so many people. Well, I definitely think that Nora brings a lot of heart to the world. Despite her being new, she certainly brings a new energy, and she's a character that finds herself with helping out with the kids at the
Yeah.
orphanage, and I think that in a lot of ways they help her as much as she helps them, and there's this really beautiful uh like energy that's created between them that I really love, especially with Charlotte, who's one of the younger orphans, she's blind.
Okay.
And from the get-go, Nora just has a very strong connection with her. And then I would say Maggie. Maggie definitely brings a lot. Like again, she feels kind of like the character that just really gets it, and she has like a wisdom to her that I really love. And then there's so much. I mean, there's Debbie who owns the bake shop, and she kind of has those really good one-liners of advice where
Mm.
people come to her for advice, and she just like says it like it is, which I always
Yeah.
love those characters. Or they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Get
Like,
to the point.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, everybody's got a little something. I think they all have hope, and they all have a lot of heart, which is what makes every character, despite their flaws, so endearing.
Got it. So
Yeah.
you mentioned that you mentioned some of the returning cast. I
Yes.
imagine, I think we've kind of scoped it out that there's also some other familiar faces that may make an appearance here or there. Can you kind of speak to who else may be joining the series for an episode or two this season that we may be familiar with?
Yeah, I mean these I don't believe these are secrets. There's Trevor Donovan who will be there, which is very exciting. And we also have Jesse Hutch, who will be making an appearance.
Okay,
Won't say when, but their characters are really fun. They really have an impact on the show, and they'll be there enough for everyone to be very, very happy.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you let the cat out of the bag, but I don't know that it's really a cat in the bag. For those that haven't watched Heartland season 18, which I have, which was amazing. And I remember when there was this picture that came out at the beginning of the season, and literally I'm like zooming in like this, and
Oh
I'm like,
yeah, you and
I
everybody else.
know who that is. So it was awesome to see you back in season 18.
My
Caleb.
lucky number, actually, which was amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it was great, and so it's now playing in the United States. I think it
Yes,
just started.
I started. Yeah.
For those that are listening or watching that love Heartland,
Yeah.
what do they love about Heartland that they're going to love about When Hope Calls?
Oh, it's they're both such different shows, and yet I think the heart of the matter is very similar. It's about, people coming together. It's about family. It's about I mean, we said it, hope, but finding hope in a world where sometimes it can be a little bit difficult.
Hmm.
And it's about community finding connection. And I think for the audience, that's what everybody's kind of looking for. We're looking for subject matter and programming that makes you feel good. And you're watching it and you walk away being like, oh, I want to know what happens next. And you feel like uplifted, and you feel positive. And I think that that's what Heartland and When Hope Calls, and there's horses on When Hope Calls, just like there is on Heartland. And this season on When Hope Calls, we have cows, we have a donkey, we have horses, we have a dog. I think that's about it. But yeah, so there's, similar to Heartland, a lot of animals. We've got kids, we've got drama, we've got action, we've got the romance, and yeah, it's there I think the through line is very similar, while obviously, being in different time periods.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay. And Nora's not going to be on a horse like Ashley was.
that's right.
You picked up some extra skills this.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about what Nora's going to be riding around on?
Well, in season two, we'll see what happens in the next seasons. But in season two, I had to learn how to like drive a wagon, which is like super bizarre, but so cool. And so when I was the first time I was driving to North Bay, which is where we stay to shoot the show, we they had me stop at a farm where I took my lessons, and they had me get on the wagon. And when actually when I rehearsed, it was with two horses, but on the show it's only one.
Got
And if
it.
with two horses, it's even harder. So they're like, if you can do it with two horses, you can do it with one horse. And I was like, all right. But they're these like massive horses that weigh a ton each. And the horse that we have on One Hope Calls, his name is Zach, and he's such a sweetheart. And yeah, so basically it's about posture. I mean, with writing, it's usually about posture and about, keeping your arms at like a 90-degree angle and holding the reins. And the biggest mistake that I did at the beginning, and what a lot of people do is when you're not as skilled, is you want to do subtleties with the reins, because it doesn't take much for the horse to feel it with,
Hmm.
like how you're guiding the horse. So it's really subtleties where you pull a little bit on the right and they know they have to turn to the right. When you pull a little bit on the left, they know they have to turn the left. And then you pull back for them to stop, or, and sometimes they get a little bit stubborn. So you go like, hey, or like, and then they hear and they know the words, right? So like if you go, ho, and then that's when they stop. And so it was really cool to, and the wagon itself actually doesn't have a very, because it's like an old wagon.
Yeah.
So it's not like modern wheels or anything. And so it doesn't have a very large turning radius. So you have to really, because if you try to like really pull, then the horse is going to try to turn really quickly. But then there's an off chance of the wagon tilting like over, and nobody wants that, which apparently happened once. Not like on our set or anything, but yeah, so it was cool. So anytime, I had a scene where I had to drive the wagon, they would let me kind of go around with the horse and the wagon just to try it out. And yeah, it was fun. But it's complicated to act and drive
Yep.
and manage all of that all at once. It's like chewing gum and like walking and talking. It's just like it becomes almost second nature to say your
Mm,
lines, which is also a really good thing, which is why I've always loved as an actor walk and talk scenes, because you're not even thinking about what's happening. You're just being in the moment. And
yeah.
those scenes end up being some of the best ones that you
Oh,
have.
yeah.
So those were fun. And there's a cute little scene in the show where Mountie Michael and I are getting on the wagon, and then we both go to grab the reins, and he's like, "Oh, are you driving?" I was like, "Well, yeah, it's my wagon." So it's like, and one of those moments where again she like asserted herself and like
That's right. Yeah.
shit, and which is great. And he's like, okay then, so it was they're both very like strong-willed individuals. And but yeah, it was fun to get to acquire a new skill, one that I certainly never thought I would acquire, but here we are.
Who knows? You may need to drive a wagon one day, right?
Right, in the apocalypse you might need wagons and horses.
And you can do it while acting with a horse present in a 1920s period piece costume. You've
That's
got it
right.
down.
That's right. Just throw anything at me, I'll be able to do it, no problem.
So, if you could give one word to describe episode one, what would that word be?
I would say, uh, okay, well, the first thing, it's not just one word, but I would say twists and turns.
Ooh.
Yeah.
In episode one.
In episode one, I would say,
No, that's right. You said it. So, in episode one, we got twists and turns
oh,
already,
I was
right?
thinking, no, I was thinking of the whole season.
Okay, the whole
This
season. Oh,
episode,
that's good because I was going to ask for three words for the whole season. So, you nailed it.
twists and turns. And for episode one, I'm gonna say, um, uh, I'm gonna say, I was gonna say shock.
Oh, shock in episode one.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Are we going to know we're shocked when we're shocked? Like, we're going to be like, oh, we're shocked. Like,
I
what?
hope so.
You're like, well, if I'm giving you the word, I hope.
I mean, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, shock for like the world that is.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So one last question. We talked about Heartland, knowing that there's a lot of When Calls the Heart fans that are going to be tuning in. What can we say if you watch When Calls the Heart, you're going to love this about When Hope Calls?
Oh, I mean, honestly, the characters are so diversified. You really fall in love, you fall in love with the town because of the people in it, and there's such individual people, and it really gives you that sense of hustle and bustle and community and people coming together, and how people like show up for one another, and you're gonna love the period,
Mhm.
the costumes, um, the things, and the simplicity of the world. And in certain aspects, it was a more challenging time because we didn't have all the things that made life easy, like bathrooms and
Yeah.
whatnot. But it also brought on simplicity in that, people got together and helped each other out and were there for one another. And, it wasn't, we were in a lot of ways more connected than ever. And I think that sometimes that's what we're looking for. And
Hmm.
people love that about When Calls the Heart. They love the characters and they love how people are there for one another. And I think that, the fans love the Mounties too. And
Gotta love the Red Surge.
you gotta love the red surge. And I gotta tell you, our red surge is pretty great.
You
And
guys got more than one Red Surge. It's like double or triple the fun, right?
it's double I mean, there's never enough fun, is the thing. And we also have, the ranchers in this show. And I will say, When Hope Cars Calls has a bit more action in it
Okay. All
than
right.
art. So if you're looking for a little bit more action, a little bit more drama, there's certainly a lot more of that action in our show.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, we like the action. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so one more time, it's going to be, I'll let you give the spiel again on when all it's airing this week.
Absolutely. So, When Hope Calls season 2 premieres on April 3rd on Great American Pureflix and April 6th on Great American Family and Super Channel Heart and Home. So check your local listings or your apps or whatnot, and you'll be able to find it. And I'm so excited for you all to share. And thank you so much, everyone, for your patience in getting this season 2. Yay! It was so worth it, and I guarantee you will not be disappointed.
Well, I'm super excited. I know if you're watching this right now, be sure to subscribe because there is more When Hope Calls content coming soon. And we're going to be doing an Instagram live on Monday nights after each episode, just to bring the fans together and chat a little bit, talk about the episode. So that should be a lot of fun as well. So I'm
I love
excited.
love the I'll have to tune in for that.
Pop
Hopefully.
on if you
But I mean,
want.
but I might not want to hear what people have to say.
Oh no, it'll be good. We'll have a good time.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah,
So
well, I'm stoked. I know so many people are thrilled to have this series back. I'm thrilled that you're a part of it, the cast. It was so fun watching the Facebook Live. If you guys haven't seen the Facebook Live, be sure to go watch it. I was excited about the series. I was really excited after I watched the Facebook Live. So that's on Great American Family's Facebook page, right?
that's correct. And I also shared it on my Facebook page. And
Yeah.
so yeah, there's many places you can watch it. It's a long one, but it's juicy and it's fun. And we had a blast, and got to chat with Christopher Russell and Sarah Fisher and Nick Bateman and Trevor Donovan. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And it was my first time hosting, which was like so
It was
great.
great. It was great. And you look fabulous in the green. I'm a big green
Oh
person.
yes.
And you look
I know
fabulous in the green.
it's a good color. Yeah.
Well, Cindy, thank you so much for being here. We're excited to watch this week and can't wait to see how the season goes. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.